After last week's first wave of spring migration brought many interesting observations, this week was a bit quieter. However, there is still plenty to report. With the departure of our wintering ducks on the way, the question remains how much longer the bickel-teal of St. Pancras will stay. This week it was only reported once on Monday and once on Tuesday. Could the bird have already left? For those who consider this bickel-teal a lifer, it would actually be good news if it left in time. If it were to stay all summer, its credentials would become highly questionable. That being said, migrating birds are not necessarily wild by definition. The American widgeon of Patton was only seen on Tuesday this week. I suspect this had more to do with the first twitchable record of a taxon that I will discuss later than with this American widgeon itself. After a single report of the green-winged teal at Lauwersmeer on Monday, it seemed the bird had left. Fortunately, birders still had good opportunities throughout the week in Flevoland. On Sunday, what was very likely the same bird from Lauwersmeer was rediscovered at a different location. Unfortunately, we had no reports this week of the ringneck duck from the Kennemerduinen. This is disappointing because otherwise I could have confirmed that we had 3 ringneck ducks in the country at the same time. That would likely be a record, though it's difficult to say for certain, as tracking the maximum number of birds of a single species seen in the Netherlands on one day is tricky. If they were all in one place, it would be easy, but when spread across the country, not so much. If anyone recalls a time when 3 or even more different ringneck ducks were present in the Netherlands, please leave a comment under the video. But back to the actual sighting. Where was this new bird found? It was seen in Zeeuws-Vlaanderen and turned out to be a female, possibly discovered by an observer checking whether the Iceland gull would return to its roost. Or perhaps the observer was prompted by my earlier tip to keep an eye out for Bonaparte's gull. Not that this birder still needed this species for his self-found list. Back in March 2022, he already found one. Both lesser scaups were seen this week as well. This includes the bird from Vogelmeer in the Kennemerduinen and the one from the Waalbos near the Kerk. The latter was last seen on Saturday. That bird had been moving around among different small lakes in the area all week, so I wouldn't write it off completely just yet. The spectacled eider is becoming harder to find by the day. When it is seen, it tends to be at a great distance from the coast and seems to be less sight faithful. However, I have noticed that multiple sightings mention a green boy. How great would it be if this bird started behaving like the surf scoter that stayed around Texel in 2009 and 2010? Exciting times. Incidentally, despite the fact that the bird was still present around Texel when the Norwegian sighting was reported last week, that observation is still being taken quite seriously. 2 spectacled eiders in the North Sea at the same time? Unbelievable, right? Speaking of the surf scoter, on Thursday morning, a southbound male surf scoter was reported within a small group of common scoters. And this happened at none other than Texel's most famous sea migration watchpoint. This is a species for which I fervently hope to get a good twitchable case on film. The chances are slim, since they usually stay far out at sea in groups of common scoters, but past cases have proven that the chance is certainly not zero. Another bird I would love to film if it becomes more sight faithful is the glaucous gull, which has been flying up and down the entire coast. This week it was nicely in place at the Putten on Thursday, but had already disappeared the next day. No further reports have surfaced since, so whether I will still get a chance this spring remains uncertain. It's frustrating with all these birds that are present yet far from guaranteed, such as the American widgeon in the same area and the bufflehead, which I haven't even mentioned in this video because it hasn't been seen all week, just when Willem and I wanted to give it another shot. Now for an update on the rarest bird I found myself this winter. The great northern diver at Paterswoldsemeer was still reported up until Thursday. Discovering a great northern diver yourself is of course fantastic, but every year I strive to find at least one review species. This is quite difficult when there is so little time to search myself, balancing 2 young children, a full-time job and running a YouTube channel. So I can only hope to stumble upon something while filming, and if I do, you'll get to see it in one of my adventure videos. Since this week, the popularity of the pygmy cormorant near Lelystad finally seems to be declining, with reports only on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, totaling just 9 sightings. The same observer, who last week spotted an overflying Richard's pipit in the North Holland Dune Reserve, struck gold again this week with a passing black-winged kite. The fact that such a bird is not picked up anywhere else in the country makes you realize just how few of the rare birds in our country we actually find, and how many are still out there waiting to be discovered. Speaking of another bird of prey with a somewhat similar history in the Netherlands, once extremely rare, now rather scarce, the pellet harrier was unfortunately found as a road casualty in Groningen this week. However, I did see a stunning photo of an overflying adult male somewhere on Facebook. I also spotted a report of a hoopoe on Facebook that actually belonged in last week's summary. Other hoopoe sightings came from Texel and Ameland, both around the well-known holiday park and at the complete opposite end of the island. Whether it concerns the same bird, which should be individually identifiable by its plumage, is unclear since no photo is available. In response to an admin's questions, the observer firmly stated that the entered location was correct and that it was definitely a hoopoe. Additionally, there was a report of a calling bird in North Brabant at a site where calling individuals had been heard in past years. Whether this has also led to confirmed breeding in recent years is unknown to me. I only know of cases in the dunes and the Veluwe. However, breeding hoopoes are, of course, strictly kept secret, so there could very well be more locations I am unaware of. In Gelderland, a recording was made of a sound that strongly resembles a calling hoopoe. However, there is a lot of background noise in the recording and only one call session can be heard. For a certain identification, a bit more is needed, but it is far from ruled out that a hoopoe was indeed calling there. One of the most exciting discoveries this week was a woodshed shrike, once a breeding bird in the Netherlands. With the increase of redback shrikes in recent years and global warming, it's not entirely unthinkable that this species might attempt to breed here again in the coming years. Imagine being able to tick both the redback shrike and the woodshed shrike on a big day. This week's sighting was also the first known March record for the Netherlands and was made in Zeeuws-Vlaanderen. Strangely enough, none of the well-known monthly list chasers twitched it. In theory, they had 2 more days to tick it for March, but unfortunately, the bird was not found again the next day. Now moving on to a list of Philoscopus warblers, starting with the Humes-leaf warbler in Culemborg, which is still present. The bird is still heard more often than seen, and even hearing a call sometimes requires a bit of patience. The yellow-browed warbler in Zwijndrecht was reported until the 26th. The bird in Rijswijk was heard and recorded again on the 31st. As far as is known, there were no overlapping observations between the 2 locations, so in theory it could still be the same bird, though that seems unlikely in this case. After last week's first photographically confirmed record of a southern ringousel in the Netherlands, this week brought the second. A ringousel near Petten looked remarkably scaled and showed a fair amount of white markings on the undertail coverts. The bird had reportedly been seen for a while, but was only reported halfway through the afternoon that day. Too late for many to reach it before dark, and others likely felt that dropping everything on a weekday for a subspecies, even one identifiable in the field, wasn't worth it. Ultimately, only 20 observers submitted records of the bird. The rest either hoped it would still be there the next day, or didn't consider twitching a subspecies worthwhile. The bird was not reported again the following day. Just wait, soon enough, some study will give it full species status. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it again. My recent advice to go look for Bonaparte's gull or sociable lapwing has yet to bear fruit. So let's try something crazier and see if that works. Everyone get outside and start searching for a rock bunting. 14 years ago this week, the only photographically documented individual of this species in the Netherlands was seen. A grey-headed woodpecker, like the one I recently saw on my Germany trip, would also be highly welcome for many. If you haven't seen the video of that trip yet, I highly recommend it. Don't forget to subscribe, a thumbs up and a comment under the video, I greatly appreciate it. See you next time.